Tonight I'm going to be showing you the latest sketchbook that I finished. I started this one on July 16th of last year and just finished it about last week. It's a pretty rough sketchbook, as you can see. The cover is pretty dirty, the spine's wearing thin. I'm not sure why this happened. I'm actually pretty sure I didn't put anything on the sleeve at the back this time, because I did that on my last sketchbook and that happened as well. So I didn't do that this time, but as you can see, it still happened. This is called the Limelight sketchbook. I got this one online. You can see the first page I preserved as a swatch page. This is where I test down all my new pens, and if I ever get new brush pens, I put them down here. I also did a color wheel. I did a color wheel using the colored pencils I have, and I use that as a reference for when I'm choosing colors for my illustrations or my sketches. These first few pages I think I did only with colored pencils. This one is a sketch for someone on the sub Reddit Gets Drawn. I really love how her glasses made her eyes look really small, and I thought that was really nice, so I decided to draw her. And then these couple of ones I drew from Pinterest. I think I chose the colors from the... Oh no, I didn't. I just thought it looks really cool. The pink and the green is something I don't usually do, and I decided to try it, and I really liked that one. I also liked that I held back and didn't actually ink her eyes. I thought that looked really cool with just colored pencils right there. This couple I drew from Pinterest too. I drew them with green and red, which are complementary colors, and I decided I actually don't like to do that because I don't like green, but I still think it looked okay. And this one I did for a mini tutorial I did on art group I had, and then this brother and sister is from Reddit Gets Drawn too. This page I love. They're of the same reference photo. I'm sure they're of the same girl, just with different angles. This one I did with watercolors, and I was also trying out my new brush pen, which I actually really liked how this one turned out. I just don't like how I could have done better with her hair, I think. This one I love more. I drew this with my pastel set that came with my colored pencils, and then I did the hair and everything else with just a normal graphite pencil. And then these portraits I did also for a mini tutorial I did on that Facebook group that I'm active on. This one is when I really started drawing with watercolors. This is a couple from Reddit Gets Drawn. I really love how they turned out. I like only painting on the creases of the clothes, and I'm actually leaving some parts of it just white and just blank. I like doing that, and I think it gives it an old retro vibe. This one is just a pen sketch that I never finished, but these ones are interesting because I actually did the watercolor paintings before I did the line work over it. I thought it was a good exercise. I might do it again. I want to. We'll see. And these ones are just some pen sketches that I did. These are actually different from what I normally do because I used mostly straight lines, which is interesting. It's just not for me. I just tried to do something new, and it doesn't always work, but it's a good lesson. And this one, it was just a pen sketch. Originally I only did this with the red, blue, and green pen, and then I think I glazed a yellow watercolor in there. I thought it would work well, but it didn't. It made her look really sick, but I still like how it turned out. And then this is when I got my gouache paints. actually only got the 3 primary colors with black and white mixed in there, and I was trying to see like the range of colors I could get from just those colors. And I was gonna do a lot of portraits with them, but actually only ended up doing 4, 3 if you only count these ones that are finished. But I love this one. I actually learned a lot from painting dark skin with this, and then the other ones I never finished because I got over gouache really fast. It's just not my medium, I don't think. And then this one, these were just really neutral browns, and then I did the highlights with a very bright neon green. I don't think it worked, but I still think it went okay. And then this one is a painting I did of someone I actually know in real life. I've drawn her a lot, and I think there might be more of her in there. I just really like drawing her. And this one is actually really recent. I think I just did this while I was going back and seeing if I had any blank pages left. And this one is a pencil sketch that I actually put gouache in there on top of just her skin. I thought it went better than it looks like right now. I think the paint's either dried really dull, or I just remembered it looking better than it actually was. But now it just doesn't look good. And then this one is just an initial sketch I did for a book cover project I had. But this one, I really like how this page turned out. I like how I positioned them. This is obviously of the same girl. I saw both of these pictures from Pinterest. I think I saw this one first, and then this one was recommended, so I did that too. And then I really like how they turned out. This is one of those sketches that I finished and then decided to try something different with it. This one I actually think it looked great when I finished it, and then I got this red parallel pen that I wanted to try out. I don't know why I did it on this one because I actually liked how it turned out, but then I just ruined it. This one's actually really interesting. This is when I think I showed that I actually grew a lot from this sketchbook, because I never finished this one, but this was the style that I wanted to explore, and at the time I didn't have the skills or just the experience to execute it. And towards the end of the sketchbook I actually did, which is really nice. So I like that this is in there. These ones are just drawings from Pinterest. I like how this one turned out. I think the guy's neck is too long, but I like how they're positioned on the page. I like the colors. They're actually just used with one blue with tiny differences of undertones mixed in there. And there's just some splashes of different colors, like this yellow and these oranges. This one is, I can't remember her name, but I do know they're dancers, so that's it. This one is of a sketch from, again, Reddit Gets Drawn. This one is also one of those drawings that I murdered after I was done with them with a red pen, but I actually like how this one turned out, maybe. And then these drawings are just purely using my new brush pen. I really liked that brush pen because it was really juicy, and it got me like these variety of strokes. Like this one is really fine, and then all these bold strokes for shadows. It was also when I found out how hard it actually is to try to get details with just a brush pen. Like their faces turned out okay mostly, but this one I messed up. This was the second one I did, and then this one I messed up too. But I did learn a lot from just doing these 5, so I think that was a good exercise. This one I never posted because I don't like how it turned out. I also think this one of my last gouache paintings is when I found out how hard it actually is to mix the same colors with gouache. Like for the background, there's different shifts of color for when I ran out and didn't know how to mix that same color again. And then this guy's torso is too long, so I never finished this one. This is another brush pen exercise I did, except this time I think I did a pencil sketch underneath. This one I love so much. I don't know what it is about this. I actually don't think it's anything special. I just like how colorful she looked with the different pens, and then it still looks really sketchy, but you can still see the details of her dress. And then I decided to add more contrast to it by doing just the shadows with a brush pen for the background. This one is me practicing different poses. I did the initial sketch with a pen, and then did the details and the shading with a pencil and my brush pen again. This one I love so much too. This is a girl and her lizard. I like how she turned out. I like her face, but I actually think I could have made the lizard look more clear on this one. This one was also for Reddit Gets Drawn. And then this one, and this one I think is horrifying. This is when I learned to just take a step back and edit myself, because I completely overdid her face, and this is not the look that I wanted for her. And then this is just a little pen sketch I did. This is a drawing I did of my son. He was waiting to get his hair cut, and I thought it was really cute that he was happy at the barber's. So I just decided to draw it and preserve the memory. This one I did with my multicolored pens again, and this is just my attempt at drawing flowers. This one was for a Draw It in Your Style challenge on Instagram. I actually don't remember the artist, but I'll edit the name into the video when I do remember. The original was really nice, and I wanted to try my own spin to it. I actually didn't do anything too different with it, which is kind of sad. But it was one of my first attempts at a Draw This in Your Style, and I think it looked okay. I think I finished this one digitally too, and on my phone, because that was before I got my iPad. This one is a sketch I did with a pencil and my orange colored pencil. What was I thinking? This is one of my least favorite portraits that I actually ended up posting, because she just looks really dirty. I don't like how this ended up looking, but I did like these brush pen strokes that I did. I just don't like how her face turned out. This is just me brainstorming face ideas for my book cover project I did. But this one I love so much. I got this photo off of Pinterest again, which is somewhere I mostly got my reference photos from. I think this was of a fashion show. I really like how this one turned out. I think it's because I always love the orange and blue combination. But I also really like these strokes I did with a highlighter. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did highlighters with this, and the blue ones I used a Sharpie for. This one is just one of those sketches I murdered with my parallel pen. I don't even know where it is anymore. I just don't ever use it because it's too opaque, and I think it would have worked better if the ink wasn't so opaque. If it was something that was buildable, I think this would have looked okay. But this time it just didn't work that way. I think I tried putting water in the ink, but I don't know how it turned out. I can't find it anymore. This is something I tried to do with my pen and I didn't end up liking. But this one is day 1 of Inktober. I think the prompt was ring. Actually, I did Inktober the year before. I finished, but I didn't do any of the prompts, so I don't know if that should have been called Inktober, but I kept on calling it Inktober anyway. Yeah, this one I actually really liked. I really like using that highlighter. I think this was a peach color that I just like putting on the skin as accents. I really like that. And then I sketched with my green pen, which I don't always use, but this time it actually worked okay. I think this is day 2 of Inktober. I was still trying to go along with it, but I knew that I probably wasn't gonna finish it. I'm not good with prompt. Something that I'm trying to work on, just my creativity in general. I'm just so used to just drawing straight from reference photos that I don't really exercise my creativity that much, and it's something I'm trying to work on this year. This is also for Inktober. the prompt was bait, and this one was just way too obvious. It's that scene from Finding Nemo where Marlin and Dory got baited by the anglerfish's light. I thought it was really good. It was the first thing I could think of when I read the prompt, so that's what I did. I did this whole black with my brush pen. I don't like how the strokes turned out. It was okay. And this one, it's another one I ruined. Oh, I actually don't think it got ruined. I think it looks okay. I think it looks actually good. I think the prompt was Frozen, and I drew the matchstick girl. Is that what she was called from that fairy tale? She turned out looking older than I initially intended, but I really like how this one turned out. Even with the red pens that I did afterward, I think it still looks good. It gave it a different vibe, like a more murdery vibe, but I still like how it turned out too. This one I never finished. I really liked this one too. I just never finished it because I realized that after I did the initial sketch, I went over this one with a red pen and it bled all over the next page, so I just didn't finish that one. This one, I really love this one. It's mostly just line work using a pen I don't normally like to sketch with because it's so fine and it's really hard to get a different variety of, I guess, opaqueness, if that's the term, out of that pen. So the lines are always really consistent, so I just decided to do something that would work with it, and this is what I came up with. I think these are construction workers, and I really like how you don't actually see a lot of the details until you really look at them, which I think is really nice. I really like how this one turned out. This one, I think it was also for Inktober. Maybe the prompt was husky. Just a wild guess. I think this is probably my last Inktober entries for that year before I just really gave up. This one is just self-portrait I did with that same pen that I used for this one. I just did some of the darker spots with my brush pen. This one is really nice. There's a subreddit called Police Sketch Me, where people would describe themselves as you would describe someone to a police officer when they're trying to identify anyone. They would describe themselves in the posts, and then artists would try to draw them in the comments. This one is one of my first attempts. I really like how this one turned out. It wasn't so accurate as the photo that she did end up posting afterwards, but I think it was a really good exercise. And then this one was of a girl from Pinterest. This one I did the yellow background with my Sharpies. I mean, I did all of the colors with the Sharpies, and just the back parts were done with my brush pen, and the line work was done with my jelly pen, with the same pen I used for this one. This one, I really like how this one turned out. This was just a pencil sketch. I actually don't draw with just my pencils because I don't like how messy it gets, and I don't like how dirty it makes my hands look after. But I really like how this one turned out. I actually even like how she's positioned on the spread. This is just blank enough. How she's positioned is only slightly to the right, and she's not exactly in the middle of the page. So I really like this one. These ones are male figure exercises I did. This one I never finished, but this one I did, which I think turned out okay. This was also used with the same pencil that I did for the last drawing. So I was wrong, and the last page I did gouache in wasn't actually my last page. This one was. It's probably not. But these ones are just fashion sketches I did from Pinterest. These are made with gouache, but the people themselves I just drew with a pen. I really like how these ones turned out. I actually really like the colors. I like this green that I did for her jeans. I'm trying to use that green more. But I think this spread looked great. Oh god. See, this is why this is my only charcoal drawing out of my whole sketchbook.
because I don't like how messy it gets. I just hate charcoal now. When I was first started really getting into drawing, I would only draw with charcoal exclusively, but now I just don't anymore. It's just too messy of a medium for me. And then this page I love too. I posted this one. It didn't get a lot of attention, but I really like how this spread turned out too. I think that they were all circus performers. I don't think this one is, but I was looking at clowns on Pinterest and this one came up. Well, maybe this one came up and I just decided to do the whole thing with the same theme, and then I did a watercolor glaze for the background, which is interesting because this sketchbook isn't meant to hold watercolor. So I really like how this one turned out. It didn't even buckle that much, which is great. I really love the sketchbook for that. So then there's another gouache paint. I'm pretty sure this is the last one. I swear there aren't any more attempts at gouache after this one. This is just a scene. I think it's from a movie. I just never finished it. And this one is why I don't like sketching with that pen. I prefer sketching with my really cheap ballpoint pens better. This one is just too consistent. If you get my meaning, it's too hard to get different opaqueness with it. As you can see, it looks like all the lines are made out of the same size of pens, and usually that would make sense for every pen, but you can get a lot of varieties in your strokes for the cheaper pens, which is why I like drawing with them better. This is one of the only drawings we're actually meant to use the red parallel pen for. This was the last scene from the movie The Witch. I really love that movie. It's probably one of my favorites of all time. And this was the last scene where there's just murder everywhere. And you can actually see, I also used a black parallel pen for the background. I think it made the woods behind her look really nice and stylistic. So I really love that one. This one is me trying something new. I've said this for a lot of other drawings in the sketchbook, but this is probably one of my favorites. This is actually really simple. I did mostly every watercolor in this drawing with one stroke. Like I'd go this way and go that way. I wouldn't lift my brush out of the sketchbook if it was just one color, and I would only lift it again and go back. I was switching colors. I think it made it look really simple, which turned out really great, because then the brush pen work I did really shined on top of it. So I think this was really good. I've decided after this one to do more styles like this. And there are these. This one is a little bit different because I overdid myself and I did a lot more layers with her skin. But this is one I'm mostly perfected the style. This is really simple, but I really like how the shadow is dark and contrasted by the light strokes of paints I did for her clothes and her skin. I just really love this style. This is me doing a tutorial for that same Facebook group I was talking about. I just took some progress photos and did some explaining in the captions. This one looks really great, and so you look at her feet. It was the same style I did as before, but I actually really like this one. I like how I did her jeans and her shirt. I even like how her hair turned out, but I just don't like how her foot looked. And this one was one of my favorites in that style. I did a little bit more of the black ink over it, but I still think it looks okay. This one was when I first started filming my drawings. It doesn't look so great because my drawings when I'm filming don't actually look as great as when I'm not, because I always get nervous. It's especially this one because it was one of my first attempts at filming. This one is from Reddit Gets Drawn. There are a couple from Reddit Gets Drawn. I just did them with the same style I did as the last one. The couple even asked for a scan of this, which is really nice. And this one was me doing that same style, but again filming it, so not actually looking great. This one was also for Reddit Gets Drawn. I really loved her expression. I just wish I executed the drawing better. This one was me trying to position a family portrait commission I had. This one is me getting ambitious with my watercolors for this sketchbook. As you can see, it didn't turn out great because it just wasn't meant to hold that much watercolor, and it started to buckle really well, and the paints also started to lift after a few layers. But I'm actually surprised that it dried mostly flat. This paper is really great, guys. This one is really embarrassing. I don't like how this one turned out. I could have planned it better, but I like the background. I actually want to do this again, but just not today. This one was me trying to paint with as much greens as I could, because I was realizing that the greens I actually haven't used that much from my watercolor set. My drawings just turn out to be either really yellow or really red in general. So I tried to do something with a cooler palette, and this is what I came up with. It's leaning more towards blue, but I really still like how this one turned out. It's just a random sketch I did. It's just actually fairly new. It's also me trying to look at blank pages and trying to use them. And then this one is for Reddit Gets Drawn too. I like the brush pen work I did with this, but I don't like how I colored her with my watercolors. This one, I'm gonna say it again, but this one is my I think my favorite drawing from this whole sketchbook. This was for Reddit Gets Drawn, and I really love how serene she looked, but she still has that smile on her face. And I also like the different shifts in color I did with her scarf. For this one I used sepia ink. It's not exactly black, and I like the subtlety of it. And it's also a bit warmer than just the backs. So I really like how that one turned out for this painting. These ones are just color studies I did. This one was off photo one of my Facebook friends posted that I really liked. I was gonna turn this into a whole illustration, but I forgot to save the photo and I'm too embarrassed to ask the person for it again. And this one I just never finished. So it's also me trying to do another green painting, but I liked how the green turned out for this one too. This is another pencil sketch I never finished, but this one is for Reddit Gets Drawn, and I didn't know it at the time after posting it, but I don't like how it positioned her hand to make it look like she needed to pee or something. But the owner said she liked it, so I think I maybe did an okay job on this one. This one I liked. I did the whole colors with highlighters, and the back lines I just did with my brush pen again. This one is done with my multicolored pen again. I filmed this one, but I ended up losing a lot of footage for it, which sucks, but I really liked how this one turned out too. This one I really like. I did this one with the pastel set that came with colored pencils. Up until this point I haven't really drawn a lot with my colored pencils at all, but I like how this one turned out. I did the whole sketch with my red pens, and then with my green ones for the darker parts, and then I did the colors with my colored pencils, and then I like how it's complemented by the dark strokes I did with my brush pen. I really like how this one turned out. This one actually did end up filming. It was right after I finished this one because I lost all the footage for this one, so I just did this one again and filmed that one instead. I have this one on my channel too. This one I actually did way after I did these. I was just going back and seeing if I had any more space left for this sketchbook, and that's why I did this one here. This one was for Reddit Gets Drawn too. I really like how this one turned out. I even filmed this one, but I didn't like the footage, so I just decided to delete it. But I like how this one turned out. I did the initial sketches again with my red pens, and then I did the light colors with my watercolors, and then I did some brush pen work on top of it, which I think turned out okay. This one is another one that I filmed and I didn't like the footage. This is when I first started really getting into filming still, so I was still learning a lot, and I don't like the lighting I did for this one, so I ended up chunking it. This one I did for Reddit Gets Drawn, and this one I also ended up filming, but I think I never posted it on my channel. I think I have it on my Instagram though. I think these were done with just the primary colors. I was trying to build her whole skin tone with just the primary colors, but I didn't want it too realistic. I wanted to still see the different colors I used to build up her skin tones. So this is how it turned out. So I think I succeeded on that end. These are all, I think, drawings of the same girl. I saw her photos on Pexels, but I was planning to do this whole spread with just her. I just never finished these ones. But I like how these three turned out.
I don't think I posted them, but I still like how this whole page turned out too. This one was for Reddit Gets Drawn. I did a really bad job with this one because the photo was really nice. I don't know why I didn't do as good as I could have done with this one. This one, I really like how this one turned out. I think I used that pen that I talked about where I said the lines were too consistent, and I really tried to love that pen because it was more expensive than the pens I normally use. I tried to work with it. This is what I came up with. Really like how this one turned out, and I think after this I tried with that pen again. I really like it. This one was done entirely with my mechanical pencil. Still don't like it. I think the lead on that one was too hard. Couldn't really get a lot of darker areas done with a pencil. But this one turned out okay. I just don't enjoy drawing with a pencil so much. This one I did with my red and blue pen, and then I did some line work over it with my brush pen. I'm pretty sure I did this one after I did this one, so I might have skipped some pages. I did this one with I think just my red pen. It just looks unfinished. I could have done more with it, but I just decided not to because I lost interest. And then this one I have a special place in my heart for. I messed up a lot with her face. And then after I posted this one, I even tried to fix her face by going over it with watercolor some more, and then I just ended up screwing with it more. But I still like how this one turned out. These are more pen works I did. I finished this one on Procreate, and I'll show you what it looks like after. This one was me trying to do fan art of another favorite movie I have. It's called Sicario. But this one turned out really bad. So I did this one, and I think this one was more successful. But now looking at it, I don't like it so much. I think I could have still done more with this whole area right here. I really like how his face turned out though. And this one is just me again trying to draw with my colored pencils more. I like that. I really like this one. I don't know why more people don't like it. I even like the pink in her hair. And this spread is my actual favorite of the whole sketchbook. This is me trying to do different strokes than I usually do. Usually my line work is very stiff, like this one. And this one is me trying to do something different. And then these ones are just pen sketches that I put colored pencils over. And I like that unintentionally I did like a theme for them where they're all looking down. But it wasn't on purpose, but I like how it made the whole spread look cohesive in that sense. This one was actually when I started to think that I showed a lot of growth on this sketchbook, because this style is what I wanted to recreate when I did this one. And like I said, at the time I wasn't able to, so just because I didn't have a lot of experience with different mediums. And I think I achieved it on this one. This one is actually my last drawing of the whole sketchbook. I tried to go back to see if there were any blank pages, and then this one came up. This one is another spread that I think is okay. This one I like more. As you can see, I ran out of black ink for his shadow, but I like the colors that I used for this one. I'm just more drawn to using reds and yellows for my drawings. And this one, I don't like at all. But I still like how I did the strokes with the brush pen. I just did not like the use of green on this one. This one was a pen sketch that I did. I still got the reference photo from Pinterest. This was one of my favorites. I just don't like how this whole thing here is blank, but I still like how this one turned out too. This one was a little girl and her alpaca. Got the reference photo from Pixel again. Pixel maybe. I really liked how this one turned out at first, but now that I'm looking at it, I don't like how bright the pink that I used is. I just don't like how this whole thing turned out too bright. This one was one of my favorites. I'm gonna move it closer to the camera so you guys can see the details. This one I feel like is more me, because the line work I did on this one is how I usually just sketch without thinking. So I really like how this one turned out. It feels like a drawing that I would want to achieve when I was younger, and I actually achieved it, so that was great. This one was just a drawing that I never finished because I messed up with her face. This picture I already drew maybe a year before, and I thought I was gonna draw it again so I can see the progress that I have, but it turned out looking worse than my original drawing, so I never posted it. That was funny. But this one, I like how old-fashioned this whole drawing looks, because that was what I thought when I saw the reference photo. So I like how I captured the feeling that the original photo had. Then here's more sketches that I never finished. This one I finished on Procreate. I don't think this one was as successful as my other drawings with this style. And this is my last finished drawing on this sketchbook. I really love how this one turned out too. This one I decided to not do the brush pen over it because I feel like it would distract from a lot of the subtle shadings I did with the multicolored pens. I feel like it would work well by itself, and I think I was right because looking at it now I still like it. So I'm glad I held back on that one too. And this one is just something that's unfinished that I don't plan on finishing. And then that's my whole sketchbook.